Good morning, and thank you for tuning into the Tatecast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We have a great show for you today. We are going to be covering the two NFL championship games that happened yesterday. And then after that, we're going to be diving into Michigan, picking a new head coach. And then, as always, at the end of the show, we're going to dive into our oddities of the day. But before we start, I would like to ask you to like and follow the show. We get a number of questions from the viewers that come in during the show, so to ensure that your question gets read on the air, I ask that you use the tips and donation link with your question. That link is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork.slaptip. This puts your question at the top of the list so that I can see it, and it also just really helps the show. So let's get started.
Okay. Hello, Miss Faith. How are you doing?
Hello. Happy Monday.
Okay.
It's very much a Monday for me.
It is. It feels like a Monday today.
Yeah.
I intentionally avoided you this weekend, by the way. I
Did
did
you?
not. Yes, I did not text. I did not call. I didn't even send a smoke signal your way.
I considered texting you yesterday, and then I was like, let's just wait and see how all of this goes, and then we'll...
Okay. I was suspecting that you were going to text me, and so I intentionally turned my phone off so I did not hear your text. It's a true story. I'm like, nope, because she's going to tell me something and about what she felt about the games, and I don't want to know. So I intentionally turned the sound down because
Tate was avoiding me this weekend. I'm just finding out that Tate he's like, don't call, don't text.
No smoke signal, nothing. I'm ghosting you.
I bet a lot of people would be okay with their boss ghosting throughout the weekend.
Yes.
That's hilarious.
It's not that. Yeah, I was like, nope. I know a message is gonna come across here. I don't want to hear. I don't want any. Do not lead the witness today. All right.
Okay.
So, other than the games, we're gonna hit the games. Your weekend? Did you have a good weekend?
Yes, but yesterday was a very long day.
Yeah,
very long day for me. But I had a pretty good weekend. I did get my nap in that I scheduled on Friday. I did. It was a nice 2-hour nap, and I very much enjoyed it.
I am so jealous. I wish I could. I can't sleep at all. I think, let's see, last night was a good night. So I probably got, let's say I was up by about 3:40, 3:50 this morning. So I probably got in about 4 hours, four and a half hours. And that's a good day for me. That is spectacular.
See, that's the same amount of sleep that I got last night, and thank God for makeup and caffeine.
I have caffeine, but no makeup.
So you don't need it.
Oh, you say the sweetest things. All right, let's dive into them. And what's the first game we're going to talk about?
We're going to start on a high note and talk about the AFC Championship that happened yesterday.
All right.
The Chiefs versus the Ravens. The final score was 17-10. So the Kansas City Chiefs will be heading back to the Super Bowl again, and shocker, Taylor Swift will be there.
Okay, wait, before we dive, why is everyone hating on Taylor Swift?
Okay, I don't hate on Taylor Swift. It's just, when you're sitting down and you're watching a football game, I do agree that it gets a little bit annoying seeing a bunch of shots at Taylor Swift, but I understand that a bunch of women are very, very excited to tune into the Kansas City Chiefs game so that they can get a glimpse of Taylor Swift.
I like it. For me, I look at it as it's bringing a whole new group of people that
No, I very
maybe
much
would
agree.
never
Yeah.
watch the game
Hmm.
are now watching the game, and I think that benefits the organization. If it
Yeah.
mean the NFL, it
Hmm.
benefits Taylor Swift, and also I think it brings a whole different group of men to Taylor Swift. So I'm pro.
You
Even
know.
and
Yeah.
I've never bought a Taylor Swift uh album.
Hmm.
Uh, I've never been to a Taylor Swift concert, although I've heard it's been quite amazing. But
Yeah.
anyway, let's dive into the important stuff. Hit me more.
What a game. What a game yesterday. I mean, I could tell by like third quarter, defense on both ends was exhausted, so tired. Because it was just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth the entire game. And honestly, I'm shocked at how low the score ended up being for this game. I thought it was going to be a lot higher than 17-10. I
You know
really
what?
did.
I'm listening to you. I'm listening to energy. I want to take my earbuds off and just walk away and let's let you do this segment because I'm like,
Uh-uh.
wow,
No, no,
look
no,
at
no,
you.
no. No, we're
I'm
not
like,
there yet.
I'm like, look at my girl Faith go.
We're not quite there yet, but that was, I mean, goodness gracious. Defense was absolutely killing it yesterday. Killing
Do
it
you
on both
understand?
sides.
Oh, yes, absolutely. It's this whole cliche, defense wins championships.
Mm-hmm.
When you watch this game, you do understand that
Yeah.
defense wins championships. You have two of the best offenses in the
Mm-hmm.
NFL, and you are talking about the defense.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the key right there.
Right.
Now, is there anything else before I dive into it? Anything else that you wanted to say on this one, or you wanted me to jump in here on this
I
one?
just wanted to say I was right with this pick. I got
Yes,
one
you
right.
were. Yes, you were. We're going to talk about that other one as well.
Uh,
But yes, hold that one. Keep that energy. You put it in a box and just hold it real tight for a second. The game, first off, what you said about you had two teams with two top flight defenses. And I mean, you can praise both sides, I mean, both teams on how well they played defensively. In a way, I was disappointed in this game a little bit. And the game, phenomenal. Absolutely loved the game, but I was disappointed in this. I felt both games were lost by their coaches. In this game, Harbaugh, who Jim Harbaugh, I mean, other Harbaugh, great coach. I thought the game plan that the Ravens went in with was just flawed from the beginning. I felt like they came in and they've been one of the best running teams in the NFL, and they said, "The heck with that, we're passing today." And it was just such a happy, pass centric offense the entire game, and it was getting nowhere. And
mm-hmm.
yes, when you run the ball, maybe they weren't getting much out of it, but it should have been more running so that it wasn't so one dimensional. I felt like from the start of the game to the end, the Ravens were so one dimensional that it made it easier for the Chiefs defense, which was stellar, to really home in and really control what Lamar Jackson could do,
Mm-hmm.
because Lamar was held in check.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I know he threw that interception later in the game, and that's something, there's a lot of people that's going to bash him for that interception. I felt like it was an interception that it was a desperation trying to make something happen because nothing was happening on their offense. And I thought they did a really good job of keeping Lamar in check, keeping him in the pocket. He was scrambling in the pocket a lot. This was, in my opinion, the worst game of the year that I have seen that the Ravens put on the field. And I say on the opposite side of this was a masterpiece on the Kansas City Chiefs. Even though this wasn't a high scoring game, and you look around and you're saying it's a masterpiece by the Kansas City Chiefs, they only scored 17 points. When you look at it, it was, I mean, Patrick Mahomes to Jason Kelce, it happened over and over and over again. When everyone was kind of saying that Kelce had kind of fallen off, Kelce came out and he showed out. 11 catches for 116 yards, 1 touchdown. He was like the factor in this game. And here's a great example where the Ravens, no, they did not run the ball incredibly well, but they stuck with it. They kept trying to run the ball, 81 yards rushing, but the play action actually opened up a lot, opened up Kelce. I thought Patrick Mahomes just put together a masterpiece. But only 255 yards passing. I thought it was a situation where I thought the Ravens could have been the better team, but Andy Reid put together the perfect game plan to control Lamar Jackson. Put a game plan so they didn't make mistakes. Mahomes couldn't miss. He was 30 for 39. So he only missed 9 passes throughout the game, 241 yards and a touchdown where he hooked up with Kelce. And with the way that defense is playing, that's all you needed. Man, great game. A run touchdown. Kelce got a touchdown, and everything else was like complete shutdown. Do you understand where I'm coming from? Where I felt like the Ravens were so one-dimensional that it made it a lot easier. When you think about that game, sometimes even if the running game isn't working, you have to keep going back to it, just to keep the defense guessing. But if Lamar, he's just dropping back, he's trying to scramble, and they're keeping him in that pocket. It just was not working. I did love the pass that he threw that was deflected, and he caught his own pass. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
For the first down, that was when that happened, I'm like, oh man, this could be the Ravens game here. But in the end, I just felt like Andy Reid was the key to the game. Patrick Mahomes was the second key, where it was just like no mistakes on his part. This was a mistake-free game that they played. I thought great defense, very few mistakes, and leaned on the playmakers, which was Travis Kelce. Kelce came up with big catch after big catch, which kept moving the sticks, controlling the time of possession. I thought it was, masterpiece by Andy Reid, and Kansas City Chiefs. Do you agree, disagree at anything I'm saying here?
I definitely agree. At first, I thought that the Ravens were gonna, pull through in the first half, because I don't know, watching Lamar Jackson was pretty impressive for the
Lamar's
first half.
Unreal.
Yeah, for the first half, that was very, very impressive watching him. But then after halftime, and then we come back, it's just it feels like the Ravens already felt defeated, and then it was just kind of like, after that was just kind of the game. That's what I got from it a little bit.
And you know what though? The reason why you felt that way, or why it felt that way, was, once again, Andy Reid. When they went into halftime, games are won on halftime adjustments. Prime example, the next game we're going to talk about, halftime adjustments. What a difference it makes when you have a quality coach that can go in there and make adjustments and see what's going on and what we needed to change. And the way that defense was had been playing, Kansas City's defense was playing, it was just like this. Our defense got us. We just cannot make mistakes. We got to move the chains, get first downs, and not make a mistake. And that's all you needed to do to win.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at everything, I'm going to hold up on this because toward the end, I'm going to tie in with the Super Bowl here.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll leave it here as far as my speculations on how things will go in the future. Okay.
Real quick, we'll take a
Oh,
break
no,
in
no,
a
no, no.
second.
Listen, Faith, I'm loving hearing you. No, no, no.
I want to talk about the penalties that the Ravens racked up in this game.
Like I said, mistake-free football. You cannot make mistakes on a game at that level. Go ahead.
I think it was third. It was definitely during the second half, and I don't know who did it, but like they hadn't even started yet, and somebody from Ravens defense just
I know the one you're talking about.
Slammed into one of the Chiefs players, and I was like, what the heck is going on? Like, what was the point of that?
Okay, this is one of the things that you talk about when you talk about playing disciplined football.
Mm-hmm.
When you start getting in your head and you feel tight, you're ready to act. It was a situation where if you see a flinch, he just going hard.
Okay.
And you cannot make that isn't like those mistakes just cannot happen.
Mm-hmm.
Not in a
championship game.
Yeah. Right. If you win, you're in the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot make those kind of mistakes. And they made too many of those mistakes. Mm-hmm. You came in with, I felt like, a bad game plan in the first place, my opinion. And then things you're trying to stay in this game, you cannot give Patrick Mahomes and Kelsey more opportunities. The move the chains. You're just helping them at that point, and they don't need any help.
Right.
Also, one other thing, I'm going to say this again. So many teams, so many people talked about how this was this was Patrick Mahomes' worst team so far. Across the board, defense stellar, but offensively, this team this year is the worst team he's had since becoming a starter. The absolute worst team of his career puts him in the Super Bowl.
I think that says a lot.
the worst wide receiving core of his career is a Super Bowl caliber team.
Right. Yeah.
Do you understand? Patrick Mahomes has as many playoff wins as the Cardinals have in 107 years. He has the same amount of playoff wins at 28 as John Elway has and Peyton Manning has. He's only two playoff games from passing Joe Montana as far as playoff wins. He's only 28. Mm-hmm. He has another decade to go. Mm-hmm. And at this rate, the only person he's looking at as far as passing is one day. Will he ever get to the point where he will pass Tom Brady? Because that's who he's in rarefied air now. Mm-hmm. Especially if they win the Super Bowl this year, he only has one person he's competing against for the rest of his career. For the next 10, 12 years, he's only trying to see, can he catch Tom Brady? because all the records are going to go to the wayside at that point. All right, I've said my fill. Anything else, Miss Faith?
I think we covered majority of it. I think
Yes.
we got it all covered. So with that, we will take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about the 49ers and the Lions.
All
And
right, we'll be back.
Alrighty, guys, welcome back. Earlier before the break, we were talking about the AFC Championship. And now we're going to dive into the NFC Championship, the 49ers versus the Lions. But first, I wanted to remind you that if you guys like the show and you have a comment that you want to send to us, you can do that at streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. We really appreciate it, and it really helps the show. But let's dive in to this game. Oh.
Oh, I'm gonna let you go on this one. Let me hear what you have to say on this one.
Guys, I was pulling for Detroit. I wasn't even giving up when there was a minute left on the clock in the fourth quarter. I was like, there's still a chance. It's very slim, but there is still a chance. And I was rooting for Detroit the entire time. Oh my gosh. Honestly, what a great game to watch, though. Like, Lions were giving the 49ers hell in the first half. Like,
absolutely.
They were tearing it up. And then I guess, who is 49ers coach? Who's 49? Shanahan?
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
Shanahan had to have said something to 49ers during halftime. And then towards the end of the third quarter, they just flip switched. And what was it? 27 points earned?
Yes. I mean, okay, I'm good because this is the one I have a lot to say on.
Yeah.
This is that, in like a lion, out like a lamb kind of situation.
Yeah.
I do not think, first off, you have to give credit before I start to pounce here. I'm going to give credit to the 49ers. I'm going to give credit to Shanahan and the game plan they put together. This is a great example of a team not shooting themselves in the foot. Like you were talking about the Ravens and some of their mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
49ers did not make mistakes. This was a blowout. This was not a competitive game. This should have never gotten close.
Mm-hmm.
I blame Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn, the coach of the Detroit Lions, single-handedly lost this game. Now, I know that's a lot to say, that you're accusing the coach of blowing a game, but that's exactly what he did. Okay, when you're midway through the third quarter and your team is dominating, your team is controlling the game, this game, you understand, if you're in the third quarter of an NFC championship game, no one comes back from a 17-point deficit. No one has ever come. This is the first time anyone has ever come back from a 17-point deficit. But I'm talking about the 49ers are in field goal range, and no one has ever come back from a 17-point deficit. If they're up by 14 and all they have to do is kick an easy field goal, Faith, you could have made that field goal.
I doubt that.
Listen, I almost said I could have made that field goal, but I might would have made the field goal. I would have pulled a ham in, been out for the season, but I would have made that field goal. If you make that field goal, you're up by 17 with a quarter and a half left. Dan Quinn, who stuck his foot in his mouth against the Cowboys, a similar situation where he kept going for it, where he did not have to. Where this is a situation where you're about to go up 17 points. He decides to go for it. They get stopped. Mm-hmm. So instead of going up by 3 scores, you need to score 3 times in a quarter and a half to even tie the game or to win. So they don't get it, and then the 49ers march down the field and score. You go from a situation where you should be up by 3 touchdowns, where you're only up by 1 touchdown, just like that, because of that bad decision. Mm-hmm. That bad decision by itself cost the Detroit Lions their first ever in history appearance in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He single-handedly derailed the entire city of Detroit and that organization's chance to make the Super Bowl. Then, okay, not only that, you go from a two-score swing because you had the field goal, been up by 17, it was an easy field goal, to now you're only up by 7. Now you look around and your team that was playing loose, your team that had their ears pinned back and could really go for it instantly. Once that happened, that team got tight. It was all game. It was Jared Goff, Amara St. Brown. Couldn't get Amara. That's a mouthful. Amara St. Brown was just a beast out there. And I just want to look at his numbers here. With St. Brown, I don't have his numbers up in front of me, but man, they kept going to him. It was impressive. But then once the game shifted and the momentum shifted, that's when Deebo Samuels and Christian McCaffrey, that's when they were really able to start to shift the game. The tighter the Lions got, the better McCaffrey and Deebo Samuels got. Also, when you talk about Brock Purdy, and this is a situation where you talk about being a game manager and a game breaker. And Brock Purdy ended up being both. He managed that game plan to perfection. But then game breaker came in, where he didn't do anything spectacular, but what he did was he used his athleticism to run when needed to get critical first downs. He didn't break anything huge or anything, Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy played within the system. He used his legs to move the sticks, move the chain, keep the clock running. And then Dan Campbell had another chance to kick a field goal, and he decided to go for it again. And he missed, and they didn't get that one.
Yeah, they missed.
Refresh my memory. Now that's two That's two easy field goals that they missed, which is a 6-point swing. What was that final score, Faith? Do you remember what that final score was?
It was 34-31.
Add 6 to 31. What is that score?
37-34.
Dan Campbell cost the city of Detroit a Super Bowl appearance.
Yeah, 100%. I was fuming. I was fuming watching the second half of this game because I agree 2 field goals could have been made, but they decided to go for it, and both of those passes were missed.
Yeah, both of the kicks were missed. Yes. Oh no, I know what you mean. Yes.
And then
not missed, but you were right. I'm wrong. Both of the passes were
dropped.
Yes.
I mean, and one of them, clear as I could have caught that ball.
Yeah. You won't kick a field goal, but you'll catch a pass over the middle.
I could have caught that ball. Like, he had it and then he dropped it, and I was so angry. I was violently shaking.
It's a situation though. In those situations where your team has done so well, reward them by putting points on the board. Regular season, that's a different game. But when you're in a NFC Championship game, reward your team. If he, just like I said, that first going for it on 4th down, that was a 10-point swing because they went right down the field and scored. And instead of being down 3 scores, they kicked that field goal. Instead of them getting the ball and marching down the field, they got a kickoff. The way you call the rest of this game is you're down by 17. They become a one-dimensional team where they're only passing the rest of the game. They have a quarter and a half to make up 3 scores. When you know a team is passing, it's a much easier situation here. Then the second one. Why not kick the field goal on the second one? It didn't work out. Okay, you had a 10-point swing. But guess what? You kick that extra field goal, you got a tie game here.
Yeah.
What happens? The way they were playing, you did not reward your players for doing their job, which was to jump out on them and take their lunch money. Surprise, they left that lunch money on the table by accident. And the 49ers took that lunch money, smacked them in the head, took their sandwich, and went home. Am I wrong on any of this?
No, you're not wrong. And I wish I should have, I feel like I should have streamed myself watching this game because this was me the entire time watching this game and throwing my hands up, and I was like, what is going on? Because up until towards the end of the 3rd quarter, I was like, oh my gosh.
Oh yes, you're gonna get both games right.
Yeah, I know. And I was like, wow, never in my life have I never picked for games. And
then you're like, I'm 2-0 in this bad boy.
2 for 2, baby. No.
Yeah. And we've been talking, there's been a lot of coaching changes, and we've been talking about coaching changes and things of that nature. And you see why coaching matters. And I'm not saying that the Lions should go out and get a new coach or anything like that. But his decisions alone cost a team that did what they're supposed to do, cost that team the first berth into a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I thought just by itself, if nothing changes, if they just kick those 2 field goals,
it could have been a different outcome.
In my opinion, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
So, anything else you want to add on them? Because I really wanted to go in this one because this should not have happened. This is This is what I call coaching malpractice. This is what I'm calling it, coaching malpractice. You know,
You
the
lose
look
your
on Faith's face.
certificate and you lose your job.
Yes, somebody needs to get punished for this. I mean, I'm not
uh,
saying fired, but the Detroit Lions worked too hard, performed too
they
well,
did. Yeah.
and I still talk about this. I'm going to touch on the 49ers because man, the 49ers once the momentum shifted,
Mm-hmm.
49ers were like, we're putting our foot on their neck, we're stepping on it, and we're going to the Super Bowl. They dropped
Yeah.
it, metaphor after metaphor. They dropped that car in low gear and punched it, and it was over.
It was.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect game. Now, you know what? We'll talk about the matchup tomorrow about how we think it's
Okay.
gonna go.
Okay.
But man, I thought both teams, the coaches, kind of affected it. Harbaugh with
Yeah.
his going in and being a very pass heavy offense. I thought in the second half he would make that adjustment, but he stuck with that game plan where it was just pass heavy. And then Dan Quinn, who had been just going forward consistently throughout the year, I understand going forward during the regular season, but you have to understand the situation that you're in. And this is a chance to change a franchise, to get a franchise
Yeah.
who has never been to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
If you just do the smart decision and take the easy points, you're already up.
Yeah.
You're already up. You're up by 14. Go up by
Mm-hmm.
17.
Yeah.
The game becomes easy for Detroit. That's all I was going to say on
Yeah. What a upsetting ending. That's
Imagine, imagine if you were, let's say, you're 60 years old. You've been waiting. If you're from
yeah.
Detroit, you're 60 years old, and you're sitting there, and you're up, and you're like, wow, never in my life have I ever seen
Yeah.
my team make it to the Super Bowl. This is it. You got to be feeling it. They were showing people crying. They were
I
grown men
know.
crying. I was like, man. And Brock Purdy over there eating their lunch,
I
just
know.
eating their
Yeah.
lunch.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
brought the big piece of chicken for lunch, and somebody else is eating it. It is.
You know what made the ending of that game so much worse? I was working a double and I had to close a restaurant with the fact that the score was 34-31. And that just
Yeah.
made closing a restaurant even worse than it already is. It was, yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. I'm excited though for the Super Bowl.
Oh, me too.
We'll touch on that. I'm excited for the Super Bowl. Really, yes, it would have been a nice Cinderella story to get Detroit in there, but you have a team, the team of the year, the 49ers against Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs dynasty.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a dynasty. Make sure when you have the worst team, the worst performance of Patrick Mahomes' career, and that means just making it to the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Detroit hasn't been there in their life. Patrick
Yeah.
Mahomes goes there every year, and man, it's gonna be interesting.
And yeah, it definitely will be. That will be a game to watch. I'm also just
And
excited for the halftime show, but
and okay, and I'm gonna do a nice little segue. We've been talking about coaching matters. We talked
mm-hmm.
about the Harbaugh game plan on the AFC Championship, the decision by a coach to forego easy points to go for it. And now what are we transitioning into?
Who's replacing Harbaugh in Michigan's new
Replacing
coach?
Jim Harbaugh. Yes, we
Yep.
are.
Yep.
So, all right.
Right, guys. With that, we're going to take a short break. And when we come back, we will be talking about Michigan's new head coach.
Yes.
Alrighty, guys, welcome back. Earlier, we were discussing the NFC Championship game, and now we're going to be diving into Michigan's new head coach, Sharon Moore, I believe.
Sharon Moore, yeah. That is it.
Sharon Moore on Friday was named the next head football coach at Michigan, which is the program's 21st and actually first black coach ever for Michigan.
I didn't realize that until you said that just now, and I'm like, you're right. Yeah, it is.
The new Wolverines head coach has already reacted to the announcement via social media. He posted on X, "So blessed to be a part of this great university, excited to continue to what we have built." Moore served as a co-offensive coordinator / offensive line coach for the Wolverines during the national championship season in 2023. And he also did fill in for Jim Harbaugh as Michigan's acting head coach for 4 games and actually went 4-0 when he was
went
filling
4-0,
in.
yeah.
Yeah, 4-0, yeah.
Yes. I never quite heard it called 4-0, so I was like 4-0.
4-0,
I got you.
excuse me.
Yes.
How do you feel,
Okay.
Tate?
Okay. It was the right decision.
Yeah.
I felt like any other decision other than this would have set Michigan back years.
Mm-hmm.
And, you had a team that was just coming off the national championship, but you had a team that had already going to have 14 to 18 players that are going to get drafted. So you're losing your star quarterback. You're losing a lot of players to the NFL draft. So that's making up NFL bodies is a very hard thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
But you had a very solid team still in Michigan. And one of the things that I was most worried about, and first off, Sharon is the perfect guy.
Mm-hmm.
He as the head coach, as filling in as the head coach, had a great game against went in with Maryland, then turned around and beat Penn State and then Ohio State. He has already proven that not only can he do the job, he has done the job and has done it well against top flight Big Ten competition. So when he was filling in when Harbaugh was suspended, that was the first start to that interview. Second of all, when you have a bunch of players that you are worried about keeping, having a coach that actually coached games during the season and show, I have faith in this guy. I know what this guy can do.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest reason why I thought this was the right decision, players already knew who he was. They liked them. They were okay with playing with them. And players, Michigan was in a different situation. 3 years in a row, Harbaugh almost went to Minnesota, always went to another, I think Chicago last year, and then finally went to the LA Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the players were already expecting it. But when a coach leaves a college football team, one of the things that happens is immediately every player on the Michigan Wolverines team is open to the transfer portal.
Yeah.
That means every team in the country can go after and try to steal their players, but they can't go after anyone else's player because the transfer portal was closed. But it opens up for kids who have gone to school, but their head coach has left. And when you start looking at some of the things that some of the players are saying, they were already expecting Harbaugh to leave because he had been flirting with it for a couple of years. The fact that Sharon Moore stayed made it so that, hey, I'm not going anywhere. And for so far from everything I am hearing, player after player after player has said no, they're not going anywhere. They're staying in Michigan. So by bringing in Sharon, a lot of the players are not diving into the transfer portal. They're staying there. No one is gonna there's not a lot of loss. The only thing by Harbaugh leaving that has kind of affected Michigan is recruiting the players coming out of high school. Traditionally, January is when you have a lot of the young players coming in. You're hosting players. The first 3 to 4 weeks of January and all the way to the first week of February, that's when you start hosting a lot of the recruits. Sharon will miss out on most of this. Sharon will only get like 2 weeks where everyone else is 5-6 weeks of hosting young players. So the recruiting class could suffer a little bit there because that is so important, bringing in the young blood and coming in to fill in those gaps. And it makes it so that maybe they don't have those same opportunities. The only other time that they'll have after the spring game, spring game is when it's kind of like a preseason game where they inter-squad scrimmage where they play against each other, and that kind of determines where players are going to be starting or not starting. There'll be some other players that they can get. The transfer portal opens up right after the spring game, and Michigan may be able to fill in some of the gaps for the players that they lost and some of the recruits that they did not get. And the fact that people know Sharon Moore, unfortunately, it's kind of funny. His big moment in fame was winning the game and then crying on TV about how much they love Coach Harbaugh. So that was played everywhere. But people, because of that, though, people know who he is. They know how passionate he is about Michigan. And so I think it really will help him. Michigan has a tough road, though. Touching on the competition coming in for this year. The Big Ten is a very different league. The Big Ten, they're adding the Pac-12 teams, which consist of USC, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington. Washington has been decimated because their coach left, transfer portal, and they lost a ton of players. Washington, I don't look at them as a factor as far as winning the Big Ten. UCLA, they're going to be a mid-tier team. But USC is going to be incredibly strong. Oregon could win the Big Ten this year. Oregon is absolutely loaded. And then Ohio State has gone for broke. Ohio State has put a lot of money into the transfer portal. I think it's estimated as much as $16 million into the transfer portal, bringing in a lot of transfer kids. Ohio State is going all in on this year, 2024 to 2025 season, to be the year. Not only do they win the Big Ten, beat Michigan, and win the national championship. Because if you're at Ohio State, the number one goal, first goal, you have to beat Michigan. If you don't beat Michigan, you can't lose 3 years in a row as the coach of Ohio State. You've already lost 3 years in a row. Harbaugh is gone. If Ohio State loses to Michigan this coming year, heads will roll. And
Mm.
they know that, and they've gone in. They've gone all in. Oregon, i.e., when you look at the Big Ten, though, honestly, it's Oregon and Ohio State. I have Penn State and Michigan right behind that with USC. That is going to be one hell of a tough season for Michigan. I'm very curious to see how it goes. And I know I got really long-winded on this one.
No, you're good because when it comes to college football, I'm all about those dogs, and that is it.
And honestly,
So,
if you're talking like a little side note, when I start thinking about who are the best teams in football, um, Georgia's right there. Georgia,
mm-hmm.
everyone has Georgia as the number one team in the country this year. I do not. I have Georgia number 3. I got Ohio State 1, Oregon 2, Georgia, Texas 3 and 4. Those are the 4 best teams in college football that I see. Way too early to be making predictions on this
Yeah.
because there's a lot more transfer to go.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia's stacked.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's gonna be interesting. The nice thing about Sharon Moore and all these changes, this is a new day in college football. It's no longer, hey, only the top 4 teams go. Starting this year, it's the top 12 teams. 12 teams make it. So, like last year, you look at Georgia losing to Alabama. Georgia would have had a shot at the national championship. I love that reaction you gave there. Georgia would have been still playing in the playoffs. Ohio State would have been playing. Oregon would have been playing. This is a new day, and I'm very curious if Sharon can really keep Michigan together, bring in the recruits, and still make the playoffs. Because even though Harbaugh is gone, Michigan is only thinking about beat Ohio State, make the playoffs, and make a run. But if Sharon goes in there and he loses to Ohio State, loses to Michigan State, missed the playoffs, there's going to be some upset people. This can be a thankless job. Being a coach is a thankless job.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all I had to say on that one.
I am curious to see how many players will now stay because Moore is the head coach instead of
yes.
going into the transfer portal. But guys, we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to dive into our oddities of the day. So excited. Alrighty, guys, welcome back. Earlier, we were discussing Sharon Moore and the fact that he is Michigan's new head coach. But now
Got a
we're
little tongue-tied there.
I know, sorry. But now we're going to be diving into our oddities of the day, my favorite segment. I don't know if you've been hearing about the 9-month cruise that's going on right now.
Oh, yes.
I've been seeing
Okay.
it like all over my TikTok, the 9-month cruise.
Okay. Because before you dive into this, I found out about the 9-month cruise. True story.
Mm-hmm.
First thing I did, I started looking into it.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to know how much it was going to cost.
Right.
And a regular cabin is about 60,000 for the 9 months.
Ooh.
And and then a nicer cabin can be as much as 100 to 150,000. That's for
Mm-hmm.
9 months. Because I was looking into it, not because I was curious, because I wanted to go. And then I started thinking, I'm like, okay, my responsibilities, and I have a long list of responsibilities. And I'm like, okay, how would I pull this off if I'm on a cruise ship? Because I was dead serious.
Mm-hmm.
Do not be surprised. Before I'm gonna let you dive into this, do not be surprised if we're not doing this show and I'm
On
talking to
a
you from the
ship.
9 month cruise next year. I am dead darn serious on that one.
I
All right, go
know.
ahead. Sorry about that.
No, I love cruises. I am going on my 6th one, I believe, this summer. I love cruises. So honestly, I would love to do a 9-month cruise of just sailing around for 9. The only thing is I get seasick, so I would have to bring enough seasickness medication for 9 months.
I think that's called booze, isn't it? No.
Booze does not help. Booze makes it worse.
Okay. All right. So sorry. I didn't mean to jump ahead of you. I'm gonna let you do your thing because I know a lot about this, a lot more than I should, but I know a lot.
Yeah. So there's this couple who sold everything to live on a cruise ship for the rest of their lives. Funnily enough, their last name is Hennessy, which I thought was kind of funny. Um, the Hennessy couple sold almost everything they owned 3 years ago, including their main business and their home, and say they plan to see out their days sailing around the world. John and Melanie Hennessy plan to spend the rest of their lives cruising on the world, and they reckon it could be as much as half as expensive as their life on land.
Okay, I want to ask you a question as you're talking about this.
Yeah.
Are you mixing up two stories? I'm just curious because are they on the 9 month cruise or are they on that one annual cruise? Because there's yes, I did that much.
Oh.
I did that much research because there's one cruise that you could be on, and it can be as cheap. I think it works out to like 60, 70,000 a person, works out to 140,
Mm-hmm.
but that's all year and a bunch of people are just selling everything and they're moving
Yeah.
on there. It gives them medical, dental, all their food, everything. And I think it's like, let's say 100,000 a couple. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
100,000 a person, 200,000 per couple. And then there is the 9 month cruise, which
Mm-hmm.
travels around. But then it's only 9 months. There's some extra months that they're going to be sitting at the homeless shelter. So I was just kind of curious if they were all the same one or not.
That may have been my bad. Um,
Not meaning to call you out on it. How scary is that I've been doing that much research on that one?
yeah. That may be my bad. Yeah, I think they actually are doing like the annual ones.
Yes.
This is a
Well,
really
okay.
long story though, so I'm like trying to like find the.
Because there's two of them, and there's more of them coming out because this is being okay. Let's go to 9 months cruise because it's been awesome. The 9 month
Okay.
one is what I wanted to go into. And let me show you how much close I wanted to go on this. I'm actually following some of the people that are on the cruise and doing it. And there's one girl,
Mm-hmm.
her name is Little Rat Brain. Dead
Oh.
serious.
Oh.
She does. So she's Little Rat Brain is on there and she's reporting daily about all their activities and their
Little rat
excursions.
brain. What a name. What a name.
I don't know. Do you really want people to be watching you and be like, hey, yeah, Little Rat Brain? I have no
Little
clue
rat
what Rat
brain.
Brain's real name is. Yes, that is a statement. I don't know what Little Rat Brain's real name is, but I follow her on TikTok. And you know what? It's actually kind of awesome. There, one lady created a bingo card of all the things they're expecting from someone to get kicked off, someone to get left behind,
I
someone
love
with
when
this
people do
excursion.
those bingo cards. Those types of bingo cards are so funny. And I want to start making bingo cards like that for just my daily life. Like, I think those types
Oh,
of bingo cards are absolutely hilarious. But go ahead. Sorry, I cut
but
you
think
off.
about what you could put on a bingo card, though.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, things that I'd want to know. I want before and after pictures because I'm telling you, somebody's going to walk in there as a supermodel and walk out as a super heavyweight. When you
Yeah.
start thinking about the food,
No,
all you're doing,
I think I gained like 2 pounds last year after my 4-day cruise. So,
girl, okay, first off, I'm going to get on you. I call you a quitter. You are a straight
a
quitter.
quitter.
Quitter. Two
Four,
pounds?
it was a 4-day cruise and I gained 2 pounds. That's a lot.
I'm expecting
In
dedication
four
from you.
days.
I'm expecting dedication. I want at least 5 to 7 pounds on.
On a 4-day cruise?
I want
God.
dedication. I'm thinking 7 pounds or you failed me.
I guess I failed then. So sorry.
I'm only joking on that one. Because on these cruises, now think about it though. Use yours. 4 days, 2 pounds,
Yeah.
9 months. And
Mm-hmm.
some of these, like, all your food is included.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they started showing the food, and it's like full spread for breakfast,
Yeah.
full spread for lunch, full
Mm-hmm.
spread for dinner, snacks, everything else. And every time Rat Brain shows me the gym, it's always empty.
Yeah.
No,
No one
it's
wants
bad
to.
calling the girl.
No. No one wants to use a gym when they're like on vacation, you know. I've gone on 5 cruises so far and I don't even know what floor the gym is located on.
I'm telling you that I think Jabba the Hutt from Star Wars started out a slim, fit guy, and he went on a 9 month
9-month
cruise.
cruise.
That's all that's happened. What are you doing? You're just doing excursions. And
Yeah.
like you said, you're in your room, you're watching, they're talking about all the shows that you're doing,
Mhm.
things like that. There's not a lot of healthy activities.
No.
And it's easy when you're at home and you're like, okay, I'm just gonna have some fruit and a salad.
Mhm.
But when you get up in the morning, and first off, there's no work, there's no you have to get up and do this and it starts your day.
Yeah.
So you go down there to breakfast and you're like, there's pancakes, there's waffles, there's eggs Benedict, it's this, it's that, all your favorite cakes, pies, donuts,
Mhm.
everything is there. And you're like, day one, I'm just gonna have a bowl of oatmeal and some strawberries.
Mhm.
How long does that discipline last?
It would not be long for me, but I will say I have an Apple Watch and I keep track of like how many steps I make in
I
a
was thinking
day.
food. I was thinking like
And
you had like an apple. Like I'm thinking like apple you eat, and then I realized she's like, no, she's talking about the device.
you walk a lot on those ships. Like I think I would at least walk around almost 10 miles a day on a cruise ship.
Oh, really?
You walk a lot. Because everything is like so spread out, and so like your room could be all the way on this side of the ship and then breakfast could be on all the way on this side of the ship.
Got
So,
it.
and then you got stairs, you know, you can take the elevator. I hate taking the elevator on a cruise ship. That just
Oh, really?
seems like disaster waiting to happen for me. So I don't take the elevator.
Couple other things about this cruise I'm gonna let you in on. Why do I know so much? Number one, they weren't able to go to the Falkland Islands They because of weather, they weren't able to go there, and it was like Devil's Island or something like that. They weren't able to go. And then I don't even think they were able to go to Antarctica either.
Oh, really?
Yes. So listen, if I'm on a cruise and I'm supposed to hit Antarctica, we're not leaving till I go to Antarctica. And I feel, am I right? That is one place.
I will dip my toe in the Arctic Ocean before we leave.
And see, once again, little rat brain was given some information, and so they couldn't go on. They weren't able to go on to Antarctica, so they took a boat out and took a chunk of the iceberg, like a 3-foot square of ice from the iceberg, and brought it on the boat so people could take a picture with this ice.
Oh, what a load of crap. What a load of crap.
I swear to you. And so people are taking pictures on this thing. No.
How much? Okay. Refresh my memory again. How much are these people paying for a 9-month cruise?
Between $60,000 and $150,000. But because of weather, they weren't able to go.
Okay. Set the thing back a little bit for a couple of days. If I'm paying $60,000, I will be going to Antarctica.
Per person.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the way I felt about the chunk of ice. That's like saying, hey, Tate, you're going to go on an African safari. And I'm like, sweet, I'm in. Hey, it was raining out. So we brought in a taxidermied lion so you could take a picture next to him. Oh, hell no. I want to see Mufasa himself. I want to see Mufasa and running around. I want to see antelopes and everything else. You can't put me next to a stuffed lion and say, how about that safari picture? It is not the same.
It's the same. No, what's so funny is there's this one, I don't remember his name on TikTok, but there's this one guy where I saw a video where he was like explaining like the weird things about like being on a cruise ship. For one, I knew this rule, but I've also been on a lot of cruise ships. So for just to let you know, if you ever decide to go on a cruise, do not talk about the Titanic on the ship. It's basically saying Macbeth before a play goes on. Like, don't
know anything about either one of those. You don't say Macbeth before a play, and you don't say Titanic on a cruise.
It's bad luck. Why would you talk about a ship that sunk and thousands of people died?
So somebody mentioned Titanic, and now they're not going to Antarctica. Is that what you're telling me?
Maybe that was their punishment, as they talked about Titanic, and so they took Antarctica away from them. Also,
okay, go ahead.
I actually did not know this. Each cruise ship has its own godmother, and the 9-month cruise that's going on right now, Whoopi Goldberg is the godmother.
Why?
I don't know. That was the first of me hearing about a godmother of a ship.
I'm sorry. I don't want Whoopi Goldberg as my 9-month cruise
She's looking
godmother.
after you. She's looking after you with her no eyebrows on her head.
I love it. It'd be different if Whoopi Goldberg is our godmother on the cruise. Well, Whoopi Goldberg's butt better be on that cruise.
Yeah.
Don't be just putting up a picture of Whoopi. I want her on the cruise.
I would be chatting her ear off if Whoopi Goldberg was on my cruise. And the first question would be, why don't you have any eyebrows? Where are your eyebrows?
Where are your eyebrows? Were you, as a kid, were you playing with fire and it went poof and burned off your eyebrows? What happened there?
Oh gosh!
I was trying to lead this down a different path. And
then I brought up Whoopi Goldberg.
No. Equally funny. We got to play a game. I know we're extending this, but I want to play a little game because we were talking about the 9-month cruise bingo card.
Mm-hmm.
And I things that I would put on this bingo card. I want to hear some of the things you would. Okay, first, yes, someone's going to get thrown off. But on a 9-month cruise where booze and food, I want to know who's going to gain the most weight.
Mm-hmm.
Will someone get pregnant?
Yeah, absolutely.
Think about it.
Absolutely.
Think about it. Who's gonna get into a fight because someone snuck over to somebody else's cabin and is hooking up with Mrs. Jenkins?
Yup. Mm-hmm.
You know, there's too much food, too much booze, not enough to do.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter how big that ship is, think about it as a dorm room in college. You start seeing the same people over and over. You get real familiar. Mm-hmm. Next thing you know, Mrs. Jenkins is messing around with Mr. Smith. You know, Rat Brain is pregnant by Billy.
Little Rat Brain. I am shocked that like a COVID outbreak has not happened yet on that ship.
Oh, that is my lead pipe lock of the week. COVID, Ebola, Black Plague, something's
Scurvy.
going down. Scurvy, rickets, all of that stuff is going to go down on that ship. Am I right?
No, 100%. Like, I remember, like, I would see the same people in 4 days. On my 4-day cruise, I would see the same faces. So, like, for 9 months, yeah, you're going to be running into the same people and you're going to be hanging out with them all the time.
All the time.
I'm worried that somebody's like gonna fall off the ship.
Oh, that has to be on the bingo card too. Somebody is going to be there. And also, you have these travel days. You're going around the world. So there's extended periods of time where it's 4, 5, 6 days where you're just out to sea.
Yeah.
And let's say it's bad weather. It's raining. It's cold. You're just indoors. So, you know, and one of the things I've learned about this whole thing is I think it's every week they change, so you never have the same cuisine every week consistently. Mm-hmm. So they're always changing the food. They're always changing. There's always entertainment coming in. Mm-hmm. But there's only so many shows. There's so much food you're eating, and there's a casino on there. Mm-hmm. The drinks, you know, you're plowing through alcohol. Next thing you know, things have to start getting a little. I'm not saying month 1, month 2, month 3, but month 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Oh, that is reality TV gold, right or wrong.
No, absolutely, and I think if you know, they should add a reality TV show for these people now so that all of us people on land can see what's going on and tune in to all the hot gossip, you know. I would watch that.
Listen, I'm telling you this right now. I'm surprised some television executive hasn't just flown in, dropped in as a helicopter and said, listen, all you guys are on this cruise having a great time. Mm-hmm. NBC is going to pay everybody's going to give you all your money back. We're going to pay for your cruise, but we get to film everything. Mm-hmm. Because you got a built-in show there that's going to be worth millions. There's only like 5,000 people on this boat. Yeah. And you're talking about $50,000 to $100,000, I mean $60,000 to $100,000 a person. Mm-hmm. You'll make that up in sponsorships. Why, you know, have a network just go through and just say, whatever cabin you have, we're covering it. We're covering your food. We're covering your drinks. We're covering everything. But you just get to go and enjoy yourself. But we got a camera crew, and there's cameras everywhere now.
Yeah, that would be.
And you know, instead of you saying like, hey, I know, like, there's one couple, they were laughing at their kids because they're like, sorry, kids. You thought you were going to get inheritance. We have decided to spend all your inheritance, and we're going on this 9-month cruise. And that's their whole thing. Their kids are not getting inheritance anymore. No. They get they're spending their inheritance and they're enjoying it themselves.
God.
Did you think this was gonna be this? Did you think this was gonna be this entertaining when you picked this?
No, I did not.
Oh yes.
I feel like I would get bored after a while. You know?
Yes.
That was my only thing.
Listen, similar situation. I moved from the U.S. to Europe, and we're traveling and doing all this stuff. Me and my wife, and there's sometimes you go on these periods of time where you're like, no, we're not good. We've been to Paris, we've been here, we went to London. We're just gonna chill for a few months. But there's no chill on a 9-month cruise. No. It is just, shot after shot, Jaeger bomb after Jaeger bomb, French toast after French toast, eggs Benedict after eggs. And I'm the guy, I don't even drink, and I'm the one talking about the drinking on the cruise here.
Don't do Jaeger bombs.
If you're a couple and you're on that 9-month cruise,
and you get in a fight, where are you supposed to go? That sounds like a nightmare.
Do you get tired of your significant other after a while?
Nah.
There's only so far you can be. Like, you know what? Like, Faith, you're awesome. I need a little space. There's not a lot of space. Where do you go?
I don't know. Yeah. I just couldn't imagine getting in a fight. That would be the worst thing ever. That would be...
Yes.
That would be one of my worst nightmares.
But it's not about getting into a fight. The question is, when you're on a small ship like that, how many fights are you going to have?
God, in 9 months?
Let's say you have a fight let's say you're a great couple and you don't fight that often. So you have 3 fights every 2.5 months, every 3 months. That's still 3 major blow-ups on this cruise.
Right? No, thank you. No, thank you.
Sorry, I know we went a little long on this one.
It's good.
You want to hold the last story and just lose this?
Yeah, we'll save that for tomorrow.
I don't think Faith was expecting it to be.
No, I did not.
Cruise to be like this.
I did not. Alrighty, guys. Well, with that, we're gonna close out the show. Thank you for tuning in to the Tatecast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us. Yeah, little rat brain. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show and leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. Thank you once again. Have a wonderful day, and we will see you tomorrow.